So once again, this is not weird at all that we are sitting in this cozy little round in the FFT foyer and talk into those huge microphones with this great, great sound that we have. Maybe it can be a little less loud for me, I would just suggest. Okay. Welcome to the second night of OnLive 2023 at FFT. Tonight we are doing this in English because we have a wonderful international guest from Ghent. I will introduce you in a minute. So we are celebrating 3 days of playful encounters here at FFT after a long OnLive pause due to moving from one theater to another, due to lockdown experiences and stuff like this. Yesterday already we started to play 2 games by Machina X. We started to experiment with the app Loulu by onlinetheater.live. And you also had the possibility to test 3 prototypes of the so-called FFT cubes. You can see them behind us. It's not the cubes we are sitting on. They are also FFT cubes, but the other ones are like the cool new stuff that we just play tested a lot yesterday and today, and you will also have the possibility to play test them tomorrow here. And today we want to talk a little bit about like the first experiences with this playtest, and I want to do this together with this nice round and all of you. So there is Ilja van Outreve from Koppelketterij Theater in Ghent. I cannot pronounce it the right way.
Koppelketterij,
yeah,
that's the
really
most
easy.
difficult name to pronounce internationally.
In Germany, yeah. Thank you so much
Obviously.
that you're here anyway. And curator and performance maker Susanne Schuster and my colleague Irina Barker, who's responsible for the program for young audiences here at FFT. So we just want to chat a little bit. We had a playtest earlier today, and we want to also document a little bit this moment in the process of developing those so-called FFT cubes. They are an important part of the project Digitales Foyer that we share together with Deutsche Oper am Rhein. It's funded by Kulturstiftung des Bundes, and in this project we want to explore new or interesting ways to encounter each other in theater spaces, to communicate with audiences. And the cubes are currently being built by a team of media specialists at Mirevi here in Düsseldorf. And Irina, I would like to start to tell together with you a little bit about the development of the FFT cubes, who was involved, because it's like a huge team and a long process. What's the main idea and where do we stand now? Maybe you can introduce them to us a little more.
Yes, of course, I can try. So we actually, when we had this project in mind, the Digital Foyer, together with the opera, it was before the pandemics that we first started thinking about this, and it was about also, we had this idea from that time also. It's like 3, 4, 5 years ago. I don't really remember when we started talking about this, but we also knew we will move into this new place and we will have this new foyer that will connect like somehow the city and the theater. That will be a space that we want to share with our audience and use it with our audience in other ways than only just to come to the theater and just it's also nice to just be here and relax and have a drink, but we also like wanted to make like more to try to find how can this place be a place where we can meet maybe in other ways, or where we can play with each other in other ways. And then we have this very important part of the audience for us at the FFT that are also young people, children and youngsters. So we wanted to develop something that is somehow for them, and it's something in our foyer that they can find that offers them some playful moments, And that's how we thought of the Koffergieterei. We remembered that we heard of the Koffergieterei, then that they have this digital, this multimedia table that they use in workshops with children and youngsters. So we reached out and started talking about it, and then we also invited two artists, Sarah Fatun Heinze and Sebastian Schlemminger, that we knew a little bit with the FFT, that have interesting experience in working with young children, but also working with technology, working with games, and we invited them to create a concept together with us. So Sarah and Sebastian should also be a part of this talk here tonight. They couldn't come here and they couldn't make it. Yes, but maybe they will hear it. So they developed this concept, and then we also have another partner here for this project. We have like this kind of technical developer partner, which is the Hochschule Düsseldorf and the Mirevi. Patrick is sitting there. He's also a part of it, and they developed then the technical side out of these cubes. So this is like the background story, or how this became. And now we have 3 prototypes that we are just now starting to test them with audience. And maybe just to, these are the cubes, so they are like quite large, and we decided like to have this transparency so you can see the technique inside of it. They have a screen on top, and for Sarah and Sebastian it was like really important, which is really confusing for everyone, because when you see a screen you want to touch it and to play with it. So Sarah and Sebastian was really important. They said no, you can manipulate the screen when you move the cubes, but not when you touch the screen. So this is like first thing that, how do you call it, hinderness, or maybe
First
challenge.
Yes. Irritation, because
It's
everyone
first
tries to
irritation.
swipe and to click and to touch.
It's the first irritation, but if you move the cubes in different positions, then you can interact with them. So yes, maybe that's enough information.
Yeah,
about
I think it's also worth it to stop at this interesting moment where we shared a lot of nice conversations with you about this table, and during this whole time then the table for us became like 10 cubes that will be moved around in our foyer, and also to really say that that's something special, the way in which you like openly invited us to talk about this stuff. And I remember there was this moment when we told you, we love this idea of your table, can we also build one? And you were like, yes, okay, what do you need? So when we talk about open source culture in theater, we don't only have to talk about a GitHub account and sharing code, that's very important too. But also this idea of opening up one's project and like also giving it away for free to friends and colleagues. So yeah, but that's like a little bit the concept or the theory, also our vision behind it. And today you had the possibility to have a little bit of playtime with the beauties. So maybe for the people who didn't already playtest, can you just like tell us a little bit about your experience, how that was for you, what you experienced there?
So first off, we did the test in a kind of a workshop environment. So it was said we're gonna do like 3 stages in the workshop. And then we could divide ourselves into groups, and we had the message, or they told us that every cube could do another thing. So we could mess around a little bit, and then change cubes, and start of, okay, we already knew that if we moved them, they could do something different. That was like the start of.
Yes, and we were at the cubes, we were confronted with different input, like there were some videos, there was some sound, there was some interaction instructions, let's call it like that. And it was like my very first memory is that we had to find out how to move it, like do we do it in a circle? When I was at first at the video, so the video changed while we were turning it, and also we had tested doing it a bit more quickly and how it interacts with the
I tried
the
to
stuff
tap
we
as
see.
well, and then no, it's not touch, Started looking at the insides of what's happening there. So that's super cool that you can see the electronics and see how the device is actually working from outside. You don't have to open stuff up and stuff.
I had the first impulse to like also move it around. I mean, it looks heavy, but it's not that heavy, so you could move it around and but we've been told that's not the best
Don't do
thing.
it.
Not yet, maybe.
Not yet.
Yeah. So and then the next stage, we could actually choose our scene. So we had to choose or a video or a sound and a there was like more of an attribute what we could do with video and no, with the other there was like the master cube. I think it's over there. That's the master cube, and that has a kind of an attribute that's distributed amongst the other ones. So we could go zoom, fast forward, and we had to choose an attribute and a media from each of the cubes in order to go to the last phase, the performance phase.
And with this interaction with the master cube, we could change what is happening at the other cube. So the video would stop or zoom in the picture or be quicker as well and slower. So, and in the last phase we were developing a small performance out of it. So we had chosen which kind of video we want to use, which sound we want to use, and we had the master cube again. And it's which did we say? We decided for going slower. That was the one.
go slower because it was quite fast.
Yeah, we had a quite fast video of
chaos, with only 3 cubes. I'm curious what it's gonna be with 10 cubes and children, but it was quite chaotic. But we actually made a small performance and an introduction to how to make a performance with a really small, repetitive video, repetitive sound, and just one attribute of slow motion. Yeah.
And maybe it's good to add that this is one game experience, and there are more games also conceptualized by Sarah and Sebastian for the cubes, and this is like the first one. It's called Performance Bot, where you can create your own performance out of those elements that you described, like a little score or a video that shows a monologue by performances that have been presented at FFT, and a sound snippet, and then also it's possible to manipulate those elements by using one of the cubes and bring it into motion. I don't know if you had any expectations before, or if you maybe thought it would be more similar to your media table, or I don't know, you have a lot of experience now with what audience are doing with your interactive furniture, so maybe if you can, was there any expectations that were met or not met, or were you super surprised? I don't know.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by the blending of the cubes into the space here, whereas I think that's also one of the premises of the project. That first of all, I thought, where are the cubes? Oh, and I was looking at those people sitting on cubes, obviously. So I thought it was more like digital wow, but it was not that visible at the time. But then we started playing, and then it was like, okay, this is like a good and nice object in this space. It really blends in the environment of FFT.
I think I didn't had many expectations. Maybe just I was thinking about cubes which are which you could like. Do you know these microphone cubes which you can throw around? I really love them, but I think it was. I really like that these cubes are like little media machines which can stand on their own, but also get their full potential by being mixed together or working with fragmentation and different media, like the sound, the video coming together, but also the interaction of the people using it. So I was really surprised in our short performance we had how after small improvisation something happened. Like the people, the testers reacted to the video. It was a video of Antje Fundner where she was doing something with her hands and her face, and they started repeating it, and there was a small an improvised performance actually, and also other groups were doing something with music and dancing, and so that you could see that there's a lot of potential of spontaneous interaction with the material, but also developing own performative ways afterwards. So this was actually more than I expected.
Of course, the most important part of playtests is what's the most frustrating. If you tell that to the developers, that's maybe the most important part for the next step of development. So don't be shy. What was the biggest challenge, or what was the most frustrating that you experienced?
I think there was. There's still prototypes. So that's the principle of having prototypes is learning, obviously. And testing and stuff. So I think that now there were 3 prototypes, so 3 cubes. It was quite chaotic already with I think we're like 6 or 7 of us, or a bit more. When there are like 30 children with 10 cubes, it might be like, wow, it's super overwhelming. And I had the idea, okay, there's so much going on. And there's so many basics that we've already passed through. So in order to get we have and sound and video and instructions, and it's all being blended together in this giant maze and this giant chaotic thing. I was urging for a little bit of a calmness, because I think the technology and calmness, and also this space is really, it's comfortable and it feels really. It is tangible in a way, that it feels like, okay, maybe we would have a moment together. Also, the video didn't always work. You had to turn it around a little bit more, and then I think a little bit of the flaws, and also in the base concept of things, there is huge opportunity in that one. But it's better to, now we went like this, and it's always better to go from here to here than to go from here to here. So,
so in this project, Digital Foyer, we had a very interesting journey, because it, like Irina said, it started 4 years ago, and then when we just started, there was this interesting moment in, let's say, theater history, where a lot of people were talking about the digital, where we all developed stuff that was digital in the way that it couldn't be a physical encounter. And I always think it's kind of sad that this interpretation of the term digital seems to stick a little bit, and sometimes I'm a bit tired of that. And also it covers so little of what we could be talking about. And Susanne, you I know that you always tell us that there is a better term to use, which is post-digital, and maybe there is the possibility to bring some stuff into this, what we mean by digital again, when we talk about artistic encounters with technology and stuff like that. So I was wondering if that might be something we could also use, in your view, to describe this space, furniture, game experience with the cube. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think my problem with the term digital is that most people think of online, so everything that's digital is supposed to be in the internet, and I think that's also maybe a frustration now after coming back into the physical space, that people are tired of online things. but the nice thing about the term post-digital, which is really like a bit scientific, but it's that it mixes analog and digital, and so that the physical space and the digital technologies can blend in together. And I think that's quite nice with these cubes, because you have like interactive design, you have communication or the possibility of co-creation for the audience, so they can like take user experience they have from being on the internet, like from developing things on their own, of taking part of discussions, like all these things they are used to do in the digital world, they can have here as well, and so they can interact with each other, they can decide the content, they are confronted with how they want to put it together. And also we have like hardware and the physical space to maybe think about new ways of talking about the topics, or maybe even interacting with things that are happening on the stage or outside. So I think there are lots of possibilities to overcome the digital and become something post-digital.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm really, really happy that you can post this, although it doesn't
it's
feel
not
like
my invention.
No, but it doesn't feel really academical. It feels like normal already, because a lot of people are talking about the digital multimedia is also a thing. Like, with media is a plural, and we say multimedia, so everything is like multi. It's like there is no concept that can take everything together. And I think in an arts perspective, that we should be honest with ourselves. It's part of our lives already, and there is no digital and analog world. I mean, real world and a virtual world. No, everything is being mixed together. If you look at the big tech companies and the small maker communities everywhere, everyone is mixing those two together. There is no, and the holy grail is finding a way where we can live together in harmony with technology nowadays. I mean, is that a nice future, or is that a really dangerous future? That's also a question where we should ask ourselves. But that question is already post-digital. So I think we're in that age where we don't have to ask ourselves, and can it go online? Because it's part of our world, it's part of our environment already. So yeah, I totally agree on that one. And this is a really good example on what could post-digital be. It's part of our lives. It's part of the real world. It's part of the intuitiveness of how to use something, because babies nowadays, when they see a screen, they start swiping it. Well, you cannot swipe on this. This is really still a really good idea. You can climb it, you can touch it, you can. But the idea that the intuitiveness of the human being is being part of implementation in technology and implementation in arts and everything, because arts always starts from, well, not always, but tries to start from the human. I think it's a good matter of the good starting points, to start from human emotions, to start from the human body, to start from what do we feel, and to take that intuitiveness into this technological story. And I think with this is a good example on how do we take movement, technology, and that intuitiveness towards a space, because this is also a space where you want people to feel comfortable with, to have drinks, to have fun, to move objects, to sit on objects, to talk, and to feel themselves comfortable in. Yeah.
Yeah, and also to maybe experience a new, or maybe to experience different ways of being an audience, because that was also something during the Cube's journey that we took, that we developed the concept in a time where there was no audience. We couldn't test anything. We couldn't even meet in the space to talk about this. There were a lot of digital workshops in the way that we had to meet on a video chat and stuff like that. And there wasn't even this theater. So it's a really, really special kind of moment for us. And then FFT opened in this building. Now the cubes are here. And I have the feeling that audience means something different now. Even when we are talking about a theater audience, but also to what they experience with this stuff. I mean, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your experience. Do you even still talk about audience in this way? Because the kids in your theater, they are always invited already in the foyer and in workshops and stuff to really create something themselves, right?
Yeah. So that's like one of the premises of Cooperitere, like the starting point that we don't see children as audiences, as beings that we tell something to do. No, they're artists. They're part of the creation process. They're part of everything that we want to do, because they're not our main audience. They're us. And that matter, if you think of implementation, things in a space, over implementing that in a space, your audience, and I think that's really something post-pandemic, that we don't see our audiences as people that come in 15 minutes before a show, they buy or they get their tickets, they go to the vestiaire, and then they go to the venue to see a show, then they drink something, and they're gone. No.
Then they have an after talk.
Then there is the artist talk, and then they go home. No, I think it's you need to see your audience more as a creator, make your audience an artist as well. Make them a part of your process, of your thinking process, on what you want to show, what you want to do, what you want to tell your story about. Your audience is part of your creatorship, and I think that technology can help us in that one, where you can. So that's maybe also a tip, if it's a possibility also to have your audience, kids, grown-ups, families, to input something and to show their creation to the world in connection of what they. And now you have a technical issue. That's what they call it.
It's
prototypes.
very tired now. It worked the whole day.
Oh, the battery.
Good,
It's the batteries,
nice little cube, and now it's super tired and has to go to sleep
Obviously,
for a little bit.
it's still a bit human, isn't it?
But also, I think I would like to add that maybe the audience is also. I like to think of it as in complicity. It's accomplice. I don't know, the Komplizen.
Accomplice.
Accomplice. Because and I think that's something more like not. I mean, technology can help, of course, but also it's part of a digital mindset. Like people, especially digital natives, are used to interacting, are used to be confronted with content, and they can decide what they want to do, and they can interact. And I think that's actually something to have this digital mindset transported into spaces of art, where the audience is like a creator as well, and a co-creative and stuff. This is actually, even if it has no technology at all, it's a digital mindset, which I think is really interesting.
And it's not only the digital natives. I mean, we're so many, like a few weeks ago, we had like a lot of children performing in our venue, and you had all the, you shouldn't be taking pictures during a theater performance. I mean, everybody knows that. That's not right. Everyone was taking pictures, of course. And then you see a school performance with all the kids taking out their phones, and they're taking pictures of the performance because they like it, and then they share it on Instagram. And we were, obviously, first reaction is like, put away your phones, but then you think, but no, it's part of their experience to take out their phones, to film, to comment on it, to send it to friends, and it's maybe just the perfect way to get your audience engaged in what they see. So
and that's all ages of audience.
And that's all ages, not only the natives, but
and
all.
And the older generations, they have the better phones with the great camera.
Yeah.
And it can take really great, also videos.
yeah, absolutely.
But still, I think it's important to keep in mind that all these things have happened before the pandemic as well, in special performative art. So that's something that sometimes gets lost during this discussion about how the pandemic changed how we work online, or how digital performances can happen. But there has been lots of this digital mindset, as I called it before, and the post-digital. And
it's more like democratized. The process has like opened up to like non-digital, well, post-digital people, I think. Yeah.
And I'm really curious to see how it keeps the sponsoring is getting away and not so much anymore, and how lots of people long for physical interaction. So I'm curious to see how this kind of works will keep developing next years, and also the audience.
Yeah, I think the example with the taking pictures and videos of performances is really interesting, because it tells us a lot about the moment that we share right now, with the kind of smartphones that we have, and also with the kind of theater tradition we have, because it puts us right in the middle between what's happening on stage and what's happening here for me as a viewer, and in the middle of that there's my smartphone and I can send it to my friends. So that's the least I want to do when I'm sitting here. And what we also try to do with the cubes, I think, is maybe breaking up a little bit those, like this kind of space that you imagine to be a theater, also like in the venue where the show is happening, but also in the foyer. And to also try out other practices than like swiping, taking pictures, sharing stuff or pictures of stuff that's already there, and like rearranging the space. Also, like, I mean, it's an image, and there is also pre-recorded material on the cubes, of course. But yeah, I think that was very interesting, like to think a little bit.
You can
about
also
this.
expose people with the if they do something wrong during the wrong, or let's say if someone takes a picture in the venue, it automatically goes into the cube, so the cube knows that you take a picture. So you took a picture. You can expose people that way.
But that would have to be a picture of the person who took the picture.
Yeah.
Now we are going into this meta space. I think we
Selfie
stop.
mode.
But I think that that was also like a premise for this performance bot game that we are developing somehow. Because I remember, like, when we talked in the beginning, also with Sarah and Sebastian, they had like this challenge. We told them, okay, we would like this thing that we are doing to work for like maybe 30 persons. So really a school class can come to FFT and work with it, and there you always have this number of 30 people, which is a huge number actually. So that was like challenge number one. And then we also talked to them and told them we have like this, we would like to have this kind of game, like also for the performance bot, where the children can somehow create something, maybe some kind of score for themselves, and have an experience how, yeah, like a score or something can develop in another way than how often I think the idea how theater is being made exists, like that you have a text and a paper and then you read and then you learn the text and then you go on stage and you say it, you know. So that was something that I really wanted to also have like a tool to work with, and to say, look, you can start with a sound that you find somehow interesting, and that also can tell a story in a way. Or you can start by doing a movement or something, and then putting things together only by composing them or being like playful in a way. So this is also some kind of, so this should also be some kind of creation moment, you know, for the audience, so they can do this. That was like, but I think this was like these were also like very challenging challenging problems that somehow Sarah and Sebastian also had to solve in a way, and that's how they came up like with this idea. Yeah, I just wanted to add that, because I think this is also, yeah, somehow part of it.
And it's all part of this this creation process that yeah, we are opening up also with like situations like this now. So maybe to also close this round, because very soon the next game will start and some of you are going to play. Maybe there is something you can share with us, like methods that you experienced, interesting formats or ways of creation or of like testing of processes where you think that's something valuable that you can also give us for this process or for other processes, because this is one project or one vision coming true now, but I think the interesting part of this maybe post-digital way of working in theater is to find new methods of working together, which will like break up also those schemes that we are very used to, and also the audience is very used to, where there are certain elements and then in the end there's the premiere. And so this is not happening here. It's like the premiere every time someone plays with this. And I know that you have a lot of experience with other methods of creating something between digital art and performance. So maybe there's some little hint that you can leave us with.
Well, what I always try to do, it's not easy to do, but is that the participants, whether it's children, grown-ups, whoever is participating, that they can have control on the content. The amazingness, I don't know if that's a word, but the amazement of a child or anyone that has its own creation being shown to an audience is a uniqueness in technology that you can enhance that, and you don't need the stage and lights and stuff. You have this to show, and I think if you could find like a template where you can show content by someone made and have it shown to a greater audience, and you have the pride of showing what you've made to another person and to a wider audience and to the whole world, that takes in a beauty of people where they don't even thought that they had it in them. And I think that's a really valuable thing that I've learned. If you can give people a platform to show their own content, show their own creation, then you're always a step ahead on things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And maybe I just want to add, I think you're already on a very good way with the practice of prototyping. So that's what we also do play tests and invite audiences or testers really early, like really, really early. And also in phases where you think it's not ready yet, but that's the time to share. And maybe also not give them too much introduction, but prepare questions and do some interviews afterwards rather than giving them too much information beforehand. And I think it's quite interesting always to see what they understand, what they don't understand, or things you don't even think of, which might be a challenge, suddenly are. And maybe one other thing that we are also still struggling, if you use media, you often have lots of visuals, lots of sounds, and that's the reason why you're always excluding people, like blind or deaf people. So I think you have a great possibility with these cubes to work user orientated with target groups, or maybe groups with different skills and expertise. So this would be something which we couldn't have done so much because we don't have so much funding to invite so many other people in the process. But if you do have, invite them in the process to develop stuff and test it and make different rounds with people with different expectations and to higher the accessibility.
Thank you so much for those great ideas. We will write them down like a million times and try to do all that.
Recorded them, so
we recorded
it's open
them.
source.
That's so great.
The idea is open source.
And thank you for sharing this whole day and really testing those beauties with us, taking the time to have this talk. And I think we can close this round now. Yesterday we had a weird experience with inviting people to also talk into these microphones, knowing there is a camera. You are absolutely super welcome to ask questions, but you can also do it at the bar if you want, in the time between now and 8 o'clock when the game starts.
And the cubes are also on, so if you want to,
We can switch them on. We can.
Oh,